There is a saying that overlanding is about exploration rather than conquering obstacles. While the off-road tracks we travel on might be rough or technically challenging, they are the means to an end, and not the goal itself, which is to see and learn about our world, whether it be on a weekend trip 100 kilometers from home or a 10,000 kilometer trip across another continent. There is always the urge to discover what lies ahead after the next hill. This time, we visit astonishing places that will take us back in time hundreds or even thousands of years. Stay tuned. Now for this trip, we're joined by a Jeep Cherokee with a 4-inch lift and 35-inch Cooper tires. Along with a Nissan Patrol, running a set of Muddies, which are also 35s. I'm sure you already know the usual suspect, me with the blue Jimny, which seems to have the smallest tires, but don't forget, it's also the smallest size. And here is the gang. Without wasting any time, we start climbing up the mountain to our first destination. Just stopping by to admire the occasional view on the side of the road, of course. Hopefully these clouds that cover the sky will not be obscuring the views at higher elevation. For the last 600 meters to our destination we need to go on foot, following a narrow path. We have left the vehicles a couple of 100 meters back and we are going on foot to Berintash. Belintash is a small, high plateau in the Rhodope mountain that bears traces of ancient human activity. And there it is, dead ahead, engulfed in clouds. Some more walking uphill is required to get on top, but I'm not complaining. Let's say that there are plenty of minor details you can enjoy if you pay enough attention. Here we are, and you will indeed notice man-made shapes carved in the rocks. It is assumed that this is a code site of the ancient Thracians, though the very essence and purpose are not yet fully understood. The upper platform of the plateau is marked with carved round holes, trails, niches and steps that some researchers interpret as a stellar map. What you will certainly be able to appreciate on this plateau is the amazing view. Clouds that I was worried about earlier actually make it even better. Our next stop will be to reach that peak behind me in the clouds. And to go there, we'll be crossing this valley off-road. It's a long way down, so without wasting any more time, we quickly get back on the road we came and head to the valley. First stop, small river crossing. The riverbed is covered entirely by small rocks, so it is unlikely to get easily stuck. At some sections the road is washed out, but overall nothing too technical for modified four-wheel drives such as ours. Just pick your line carefully, commit to it, and you will be fine. Speaking of lines, isn't this a bit too steep, mate? Alright, a bit of flexing never hurt nobody. It's already spring, but with the increasing altitude we start seeing more and more patches of remaining snow around the forest. Seems like even more snow is awaiting us, judging by the frost on those trees in the distance. On the trail, it had practically turned into ice, and I can feel the tires losing traction. But with a bit of right foot, we maintain momentum and keep progressing. We have arrived at our next stop, another natural landmark. And that of course means more climbing. That's Karajov stone. It has been uncovered that this rock has been used as a sanctuary some 2000 years ago. Now I'll be leaving this camera because these stairs are getting pretty sketchy, and I'll be taking the GoPro to the top. You need to be extra careful climbing those stairs. They haven't been maintained in decades. Kyrgyz stone is above all one incredible rock formation. Other than that, you will be treated with yet another astonishing mountain view. Enough of this place. The day is not over yet. To reach our next destination on the list, we need to get back to the main road and travel for about an hour. By the time we get there, it starts to rain. But check this out. This is called the Devil's Bridge, and it is well worth your time to stop and take a look. Legends about this place are more than history. It is said that at certain hours of the day you can actually see the devil there. But in any case, it's an architectural marvel. Legend has it that this 56-meter-long arch bridge was built by the Romans to link the Aegean Sea and the region of Thrace. It was later rebuilt in the 16th century by the Bulgarian craftsman named Dimitar during the Ottoman occupation of Bulgaria. It is getting dark, but there is one more place I want to visit before calling it a day. The Jeep had some technical issues, losing the front-wheel drive, and decided to skip this next spot and get back straight to the hotel. I believe this hill ahead of us is exactly where we need to go. There is a real sense of discovery being the only one around. This is what I like about these trips. We are currently entering an ancient fortress. It has been built in the Iron Age and it has been partially rebuilt later in the medieval era. Just take a look at this. Here, this is the distinct shape of a medieval church. And right a couple of meters to the side, you have a stone sarcophagus, which was built by the Thracians 2,000 years ago. Indeed, the items that have been uncovered here suggest that this place has been used by different civilizations during different periods of history. A total of 7 steps carved in the monolith are leading to the sarcophagus, which has an unobstructed view at the valley. Other than that, there are plenty of medieval structures around, including walls, towers, and other fortifications. Now it is really getting late. And we are again making our way through the dark. One of these days I really need to get an LED bar for the Jimny. Now I'll be making dinner, and you make sure to subscribe to the channel and not miss the second part of this video. See you next time. Oh, hello! You've caught me editing the next video, and if you're here, chances are you like my content. And you should know that these videos take hundreds of hours to make. To plan, to go and shoot, of course to edit. That's a lot of work, time, efforts, and of course money, because everything costs something. And here is the thing. YouTube is not very good at promoting these type of videos and attracting views. And I'm actually yet to receive my first dollar from YouTube, even though I have hundreds of thousands of views. So I figured, alright, let's try something else and see how it goes. And I've set up my Patreon account. So if you like my content, go ahead, support the channel with the cost of one cheap Eastern European beer per month, and in exchange I promise to upload videos every month. So go ahead, be my first Patreon. Thanks.